We have a failed policing policy.
Right.
That's why we need to constantly bring in all these consultants.
That's right. Yes, sir. We're going to talk about that shortly. Let me come to Dr. Powers and we'll talk about, again, the People's Plan to dramatically reduce crime. Family, we just tuned in. Having a conversation with Sergeant Lou Hobson, who you just heard, and, of course, Dr. Tyrone Powers, former FBI agent, Maryland State Trooper, and, of course, professor at Anne Arundel County Community College. He's taught, of course, as Sergeant Lou has, on many of the college campuses here in the city of Baltimore around the issue of criminal justice, public safety. So, Dr. Powers, thoughts and comments on the People's Plan to dramatically reduce crime almost 11 years ago.
And it actually came about, the People's Plan came about because the solutions they're offering us. When I was in the FBI, I worked 3 years undercover in a drug cartel, got to travel a great deal, begin to see the world through the eyes of those, begin to see the world through the eyes of others. You know, in the FBI Academy, they have this philosophy that you will never effectively counter that which you do not fully understand. Surface understanding always lead to surface solutions, and surface solutions are never long-term solutions, which is why we are where we are now in Baltimore City. The People's Plan to dramatically reduce crime was a holistic plan to address all the issues that lead to crime.
Right.
We look back historically, we talk, as you know, Brother Darren, you were clear on this, had the opportunity to meet and speak with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We've talked to people around the country, and we brought the community together to talk about a long-term systemic approach to reducing crime, because otherwise you would have ebb and flow.
Right.
You would have political policing. Politicians come in and say, get crime down for me for this short period of time so I can get reelected, but nobody really cared about or loved the people and wanted to sustain a reduction of crime for a long time. And what you're seeing now is the result of people not having systemic solutions. Martin O'Malley, when the People's Plan for dramatically reduce crime was brought out, to the credit of many in the media, they really liked the plan. They thought it was excellent. They thought it addressed education, poverty, deprivation. They looked at what we had wrote down about other nations where when the children are not taken care of properly and educated properly, they become madmen.
Yes.
Now, I'm not talking about just the physical violence, but the psychological violence of young people at the age of 15 and 16 believing that it's okay to remove another person from existence. They don't come out of the womb that way.
That's right.
So there had to be a psychological and sociological approach to get them away from that thinking. So we had everything from intervention in the schools, intervention in the churches, intervention in the communities, and policing policies that says that bad people had to be dealt with in that way too. I think Minister Farrakhan said that sometimes people become so bad and harm so many people in our community, you've got to turn them over to the devil. So it was front-end solutions, and there were back-end solutions to this particular plan. Martin O'Malley essentially on an interview on television said, it's just, I'm not even going to look at this plan. And then he went on this mass arrest policy.
That's right.
But let me just say this. He would have never been successful, Brother Darren, and you know this, with this mass arrest policy without the help of Stephanie Rollins Blake, Sheila Dixon, and other politicians in this city. We essentially tolerated what he brought into existence to disenfranchise our young people and to create this monster that we now face on the west side and the east side and in Baltimore, and that we march about now. We allowed this man, and we helped him to become mayor. We helped him to become governor. We allowed him to implement policies. He would have never, he was one skinny white man with a puffed up chest. He would have never been able to do what he did to our community that puts us in the condition that we are in today without our complacency. We had blind loyalty, and all of our loyalty should be conditional loyalty. It should be quid pro quo. It should be where we don't get anything out of it, we shouldn't put anything in it. Not from Stephanie Rollins Blake, not from Sheila Dixon, not from the new police commissioner, not from any politician, any radio show host, anybody in our community. Is always conditional loyalty, because we're about the business of saving our children. That plan was a holistic plan. It can still work today. But what we have to do, and I think you brought this up a few minutes ago, is the marches are excellent. Bringing attention to the particular issue. But unless you have a concrete plan, then you become rhetorical revolutionaries. You talk a good game, or as James Brown said, talking loud and saying nothing. You talk a good game. People will even put a mic in front of your face because you're just talking. You're not putting anything in place. The People's Plan took everyone from every segment of the community. We didn't care whether you were with the Catholic Church, the Nation of Islam, whether you were an atheist, an agnostic, and say the purpose of this is to save and redirect the lives of children, to make sure that we recruit people in the police department, not insurgents.
Right.
We got an insurgent mercenary force in many cases, except for those like Lou Hobson and those whose lives he had touched through the Vanguard Association.
That's right.
He took that organization and turned around. I'm not going to say anything bad about him right now, but they helped us get Bernstein, to be honest with you.
Right.
And I know you tried to take him in another direction, but we got to call them out too.
That's right.
Because we cannot be thin-skinned. The mission is to save the children.
That's
the school system or miseducation will destroy your children.
That's right.
That's what Carter G. Woodson said to us. So what we're looking at now with the violence, we created this monster.
That's right.
We are going to have to come up, not Batts,
right.
not Stephanie Rollins Blake, who just love the position and the power of the position, but not the children.
Yes.
We're going to have to come up with the solutions like we did with the People's Plan to dramatically reduce crime, to save. Nobody else have an incentive.
Right.
There's no divine act that have happened in history that would make other people say, you know what, I think we should go to Baltimore and save black lives.
That's right.
There's nothing that has happened in the history from slavery to the day that should make us think that other people will come up with a solution to save black children from death, destruction, and imprisonment. There's nothing but us to do that. And the People's Plan to dramatically reduce crime was that vehicle to make that happen. You know, and we got pushback. We got criticism. People talked about me. Well, you came out. How can you come up with the effort? I said, well, do it your damn self.
That's right.
Don't worry about where I've been and what I've done and what I might be up to.
Right.
You go speak to children.
That's
you
right.
go help educate children. Get your degree so you can go into a classroom somewhere and begin to get in front of children. Stop talking about what I may be and what I might be up to, and do what you're doing. I'm not stopping you one bit from coming a part of the solution. Marching is good.
Yes.
But until those who march go about the meticulous work of getting in front of children, redirecting them like a Charlie Duggar.
That's
the
right.
brilliance of that, if that man has not elevated
Right.
as more of an important part in the education city solution in this city, then we're going to continue to have this crime. We'll be sitting here 10 years from now talking about another spike, and it's not a spike.
Right.
As you and I know how they play with the statistics. We know these murders and rapes that disappeared off the books under Kevin Clark.
That's right. That's
we know all that.
Shredding
That's
the
not
documents.
a spike. You can't miss 80 rapes and say we're down in rapes. That's a spike. If 80 white women were raped in this city,
that's right,
we'd have martial law tomorrow morning. Now, we don't want martial law because, trust me, the people that would implement martial law, you and I would be in prison too. Tonight, your radio show would be silenced by the NSA and all those other people that Snowden are talking about right now.
That's right.
If we had that. But the fact of the matter is that we are going to have to come up with the solutions. We have the solutions.
Yes.
And we're going to publish it again. We're going to put it back up online. We're going to work to update it so people can look at this and say it's a long-term solution to a systemic problem.
Yes, sir.
And if we keep allowing Stephanie Rollins Blake and those other people, and now watch what happened, Brother Dan, and I'll shut down with this.
Yes, sir.
When she runs for mayor again, there will be black people crowding around her,
that's right,
hugging her, embracing her, walking with her, just like they are now with Martin O'Malley's lieutenant governor to be person.
Right.
And nobody will ever ask the question of how much damage have you done to the children?
That's right.
How much pain have you brought to our people? We need conditional loyalty, not unconditional loyalty.
That's right.
We're not in a position to offer anybody anything unconditionally now but our children. That's the only place where it should be unconditional love.
That's right. Getting family just tuning in and having a conversation with Dr. Tyrone Powers and Sergeant Lou Hobson. Looking back, of course, black to the future, as we say, because what was helps to make what is today. And looking at, of course, the People's Plan to dramatically reduce crime. Also looking at this issue of crime in the city of Baltimore. Of course, Sergeant Lou Hobson, what we've been seeing since the beginning of the year, that there's been, of course, homicides since the beginning of the year. And we've often been told that now there's a spike in shootings and killings. And, of course, as Dr. King said, those that talk about the long, hot summer fail to examine the long, cold winter in which they haven't prepared for the summer. Talk about that as you work with young people there at the Juvenile Justice Center, or the juvie baby booking, as some call it, of course, in the streets. But talk about the importance of the young people having access to jobs, and then the men having access to jobs, because those are ingredients that lead to the violence. Dealing with the issues of the lead in the water still in the Baltimore City Public School, lead in the homes in Baltimore City Public Homes, but also tying it into jobs, as Councilman Stokes will be having a hearing tonight. 5 o'clock, dealing with the issues of Harbor Point, but why, again, the business community, as you talked about earlier, have to understand the importance of investing in the neighborhoods, not just investing in Harbor East, but in the Harbor Lease that we see, and give us some of that Harbor Yeast as far as the money that's flowing through the city right now. But talk about the importance of, looking at investing in our young people and investing in the communities before we get right into where we are today with the violence and the shootings and the killings and the homicides in the city of Baltimore.
Brother Muhammad, I couldn't have said it better than what you just said it. I mean, each and every day, I'm one of the shift commanders down at the juvenile booking facility.
Shout out to them brothers and sisters down there.
Absolutely,
some of the hardest, fine
absolutely.
working staff you got down there. So shout out to them as we listening, because I know they listening or they're going to catch it on the podcast. But please continue.
Absolutely. I do have a great staff down there. Many of the people down there are handpicked by me, and you have to have the ability to work with our children.
That's right.
And one of the reasons, some of the things I see, just like the number one arrest for African American females is assault. You know, and that's just conflict.
Right.
No one has taught these young people how to deal with conflict down here.
That's right.
Now they're fighting teachers, they're fighting other students, and
right.
There's nobody in their lives right now.
Yes.
And the second most arrest for black females is shoplifting.
Right.
And they're just tearing them up down at the stores down the Inner Harbor and everything else.
Mm-hmm. But don't mean that whites aren't shoplifting. It's just that we find that blacks, of course, are arrested in higher numbers right now and prosecuted. Because with the whites, they may just put it on a stat docket and let them keep moving. They don't want to mess up their lives. Is what often is what is said.
Exactly. And let's just say this: very rarely do we ever see any whites come down.
Right.
Juvenile booking.
Yes, sir.
Baltimore City. Sometimes I used to believe that there can't be no whites in Baltimore City because I never seen any of them come down here.
Right.
And I think we deal with whites and blacks in a different manner, in a different form.
Yes, sir.
And but the number one charge for young African American males is possession of marijuana. So really these crimes are not that are violent.
Not that severe.
Some of the things that we and I don't want people to get the impression that everything is all negative.
Right.
We have a lot of good people out here working.
Yes.
I have a good staff that's working. And some of the innovative things that we've come up with is diversionary programs. Those diversionary programs, we're trying to save young people careers, their reputation. And without with that record is going to determine whether or not you go to college, whether you get a good job.
That's right.
I mean, whether you get that good summer job,
right.
it's your future.
That's
right. A lot
right.
of people think that once you get this record and once you turn 18, it somehow goes away. No, it never goes away. They have that FBI number that's attached to it.
Yes, sir.
Somehow they always seem to be able to pull it back up.
Right.
So the bottom line is we try to keep people's records clear. We do a diversionary program instead of them going to a court and disputing part of their record. We push them in a diversionary manner. We have teen court. We have actually we got in touch with the mayor's office, and she was kind of impressed with the diversionary program and gave us two individuals from the city.
Right. And let me quickly ask, as you mentioned the mayor, since we're talking about, again, jobs for young people, same way the mayor signed an executive order to say to the officers they can't stop immigrants and ask them about their status as far as being legal citizen. Couldn't she sign executive order for these youth and give these youth a waiver so that these youth can get jobs? And again, perhaps some type of executive order from the governor so that we can expunge, since we're talking about dignity and equality and respect, we can expunge these nonviolent charges against these young people in the city of Baltimore.
Absolutely. And not only that, not just jobs sweeping the streets.
Yes, sir.
Not just, these jobs should be more professional, in line with career development.
Right.
Working with computers.
Yes, sir.
And the police department, city agencies,
right.
Private agencies. You can get anything you want done.
That's right.
If you want it done.
If you want to do it. That's right.
And that's the bottom line.
Yes, sir.
We're not investing in our children.
Right.
So what you see out here on the street is us.
That's right.
It's like the monster we talked about.
Yes.
You're going to face this monster, and these kids are growing up.
Right.
They have listen, these kids are hurting right now.
That's right.
I see them every day come in there.
Yes.
They're coming in there. There's no fathers in their lives.
Right.
Mothers have kind of like washed their hands. They're tired.
Right.
I know it's not proper, and I know it's not the right thing to say.
Right.
But, I see them each and every day.
Yes, sir.
We make sure they get fed. Some of them haven't had a meal.
That's right.
In days.
That's right.
And haven't washed up. They live in vacant homes.
That's right. Living in abandoned miniums, as we call them, brother. Yes, sir.
So, we're arresting them.
Right.
But what are we arresting them for? For being poor?
That's right. That's right.
What we're arresting them for.
We've already arrested their development. Now we're arresting them in terms of their reality and not really being compassionate. And that's what the people are looking for today, for some compassion. And that's what has to come out of a city hall and those that can make the policies in the city of Baltimore. They know how to be compassionate to others that are just coming into the country and just coming into the city. But if we take that same type of, again, professional and courtesy behavior that we use to the tourists that they had in downtown the Inner Harbor this past